Hi, my name is Shawn Williams, and today our goal with the cooperation of the International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation is to give you a brief overview of the rules, the scoring system, and some of the more common submissions that you might see in our sport. The length of time will vary by match. In the adult division, blue belts are 6 minutes, purple belts are 7 minutes, brown belt is 8 minutes, and black belt has a 10-minute time limit. Keep in mind that there is no overtime for each match. For more information on different divisions' time lengths, please visit www.ibjjf.org. One of the ways to win in a competition is a submission. We're going to take a look at some of the more common submissions you might see in a match. So let's take a look at one of the more common submissions. It's called an arm lock. The arm lock, we'll look at it in various positions, but for instance, in this position, an arm lock is a full extension of the arm where Ben's hips will put pressure on the elbow, forcing Jake to tap out by an extension pressure on the elbow. So in this position, Ben finds himself on top of Jake, and when he sits back, he's going to extend the arm fully. And as you can see, the pressure on the elbow is put on by the emphasis on the lift of the hips and forcing Jake to tap out with a straight arm lock. Now we're going to take a look at a straight arm lock applied from the closed guard. As you can see, when Ben moves into a position of extension on the elbow, once again, the arm is fully extended. He uses his legs to apply pressure, engage the hip, forcing Jake to tap out when the pressure is applied directly onto the elbow with his hips. Another variation of the straight arm lock, but done this time from the bottom. Another version of a straight arm lock would be the figure 4 straight arm lock. In this instance, Ben's going to use his forearm to lock out the elbow. You can see that Jake's arm is completely extended. The pressure will be on his elbow. He's going to roll his forearms forward a little bit, push down on the wrist, and Jake will tap due to the pressure on the elbow from the fully extended arm lock. Okay, this time we're going to take a look at an arm lock that's applied in an upside down nature. Jake's arm will be upside down this time. He's left his arm extended, maybe grabbing Ben's head here, and so Ben rolls the elbow up. Again, this arm lock is called an udagatami, and it's an upside down version. Now you can see the extended arm, the pressure at the elbow is applied with Ben's forearms. His knees lock Jake out so he can't drive anywhere. And again, we've got a full extension with pressure on the elbow. As Ben applies that pressure, Jake will tap from an arm lock. One more type of arm lock that you might see is a belly down arm lock. Again, this time Jake pushes Ben off. You can see his arm fully extended as Ben passes the leg over his head. He creates basically an arm lock from the belly down position. Again, as Ben squashes his hips down to the floor, Jake is forced to tap with that extended arm and the pressure right on the elbow. So you might see this, it's commonly referred to as a belly down arm lock. One more variation of a straight arm lock is when the arm gets pinned or trapped in Ben's armpit. He sits into off of a cross-side position. Again, you can see Jake's arm fully extended with the pressure being applied by Ben's hips. The only difference this time is that Jake's hand is stuck in the armpit, often making this arm lock a little more crucial or more intense than the arm lock that's controlled with the hands. One of the most exciting and dynamic arm locks comes from the standing position, and we call it the flying arm lock. As you can see, Ben lands in a perfect, straight, extended position, and he forces Jake to tap off that extended arm. Now our subject is going to be bent arm locks, which will be a little bit different. They're designed to hurt the opponent's shoulder. So one instance of this is of a bent arm lock is the Kimura. As Jake sits up, he locks his own wrist. He's got a figure 4 grip, and he puts Ben into a very bent arm position, which isolates the shoulder and forces Ben to tap out due to a Kimura from the closed guard. Another common position we might see Kimura applied from is the north-south position. As you can see, Jake is right above Ben's head, which differs slightly from the cross-side top position. We call this the north-south position. When Jake gets in, isolates Ben's arm in the bent elbow position with his figure 4 grip, he's going to post up this back leg so that now Ben is forced to maintain this sideways position. Again, he takes the arm behind Ben's back, taking the palm towards the head and isolating Ben's shoulder. And once again, the bent arm lock called a Kimura. Another position that we can take a look at the Kimura from is a cross-side top position. As Jake isolates the arm, he steps over the head, finishing Ben in a Kimura lock. Notice the arm is bent, and as he puts his hand towards his head, he isolates the shoulder joint and forces a tap out due to Kimura from the top of cross-side position. This time from cross-side top, we have another bent elbow finish called an American lock or an Americana. The American lock is basically an upside-down version of Kimura. This time, Ben's palm will be facing the ceiling. Again, the elbow is bent. It's a bent-style arm lock. And as Jake pulls down the arm to apply the pressure, Ben is forced to tap when all the pressure goes directly to the shoulder. Again, we've got a figure 4 grip, cross-side top, American lock. Another bent arm position is called an omoplata. This time, Jake's going to use his legs to isolate Ben's shoulder. As you can see, when Ben's flattened out, Jake's got his legs in a very distinct position, and it looks the exact same as a Kimura. It's basically a Kimura with the legs. He's got his legs holding Ben's arm in this bent position, and now as Jake sits forward, the pressure is applied directly to the shoulder, causing Ben to tap. This move is called an omoplata. Again, one of the most dynamic ways to get into the omoplata is from the standing position. It's called the flying omoplata. Another type of submission that can be applied to the arm is a wrist lock. The wrist lock comes when there's a fixed back to an elbow, so maybe a body, and the arm, or wrist rather, is bent either down or backwards, and pressure is applied by the chest or hand, and a wrist lock is created. We'll take a look at some examples of different wrist locks. Let's take a look at a submission called the knee bar. It's going to be when Jake spins around Ben's leg, isolating the leg. Now this is a straight leg lock, so he's isolating the whole entire leg, much like the straight arm lock. He's using his hips directly on Ben's knee, which hyperextends Ben's knee, causing him to tap out, forced to do a straight knee bar. Please note that knee bars are only legal for brown and black belts. The straight Achilles lock comes when Jake puts Ben's leg in an extended position. He's got either one of two things, either the foot on his outside hip or the foot on his inside hip. Both of these are classified as straight Achilles locks. As Jake's foot is on Ben's hip and his knee is pressing down, he's able to isolate Ben's whole entire leg, creating a pressure right on the ankle. So when Jake hips in and bridges backwards, he's able to tap Ben out on a straight Achilles or straight ankle foot lock. A second type of straight ankle lock is called the belly down ankle lock. It's still a straight Achilles lock, but it's when Jake turns belly down. Now he's able to put the same amount of pressure, or actually an increased amount of pressure, on Ben's ankle, and again, he gets a belly down straight ankle lock. Another type of foot lock is called the toe hold. It's when Jake is going to grab the toes of Ben's foot. He's going to go all the way over and grab his own wrist, as seen similar to the Kimura. When he puts pressure, he's going to put pressure from the toes inwards towards Ben's hips, causing him to tap out based on the pressure of the ankle. So again, this is an ankle lock called the toe hold. Please note that toe holds are only legal for brown and black belts. Let's look at some other examples of leg locks. Another type of submission that you might see in a match is called a choke, and we're going to specifically look at the rear naked choke first. What a choke is designed to do is cut off the blood supply to the brain, forcing your opponent to tap out or pass out, right? So in this case, Ben's going to wrap his arm around Jake's neck, and you can see that both of his forearms are applied right where the carotid arteries go. He's going to lock his bicep, one hand behind Jake's head, and as he squeezes the elbows together and pushes them down into Jake's chest, he's forced to tap out or lose the blood supply to the brain, which will cause him to go unconscious. Another type of choke that you might commonly see is called the head and arm triangle choke, or the arm choke, arm triangle. And again, once Ben comes off to the side and sprawls, this time, instead of Ben's arm isolating or cutting off Jake's blood supply, he's using his own arm and his bicep. So as he squeezes, Jake's bicep cuts off his right carotid, Ben's bicep cuts off Jake's left carotid. And again, he's going to tap out due to a cutoff of the blood supply to the brain. Now let's take a look at a modified head and arm choke, commonly called the darce. Ben's going to wrap through, grab his own bicep. Again, it's a head and arm style choke, just from a backwards or an inverted position. And as Ben squeezes his biceps together, again, Jake is forced to tap. One side will be cut off by his bicep, the other side will be cut off by Ben's bicep. Let's take another look at a variation of a head and arm choke called the triangle choke. This comes from Ben's closed guard. You notice he punches the arm right through. This puts Ben's left leg directly on Jake's neck. When he locks the figure four, he's able to force a head and arm choke by passing Jake's arm across the body, pulling his head down, and engaging the hips. Jake taps due to the triangle choke from the closed guard. Again, one of the most dynamic triangle entries comes from the standing position. We have the flying triangle. Let's take a look at another common choke you'll see. This one applied from the closed guard, called the guillotine choke. As Ben wraps his right arm around Jake's neck, he sits into the guard, into a closed guard setting, and you can see, once again, that Ben's right arm is wrapped all the way around Jake's neck. And once he puts the pressure of squeezing the elbow down to the hip and lifting his hips, he's going to force Jake to tap out. Same as the rear naked choke, one arm is causing the cutoff of the circulation from Jake's neck, and he's going to force to tap from a guillotine choke. The guillotine can also be applied from the standing position. As Jake shoots a double leg, Ben wraps his arm deep around the neck, and again, as he starts to engage his hips forward, he cuts off the blood supply and executes a guillotine from the standing position. Now let's take a look at some other exotic chokes.